Have you ever felt anger, frustration, and the only thing you want is to break your racket because you can't seem to beat the rubber you feel like the devil created, long pimples? Don't worry, I get good views for you. This is the exactly right video to change that. We are going to talk about how to get very good control when you play against long pimples. We will talk about how to finish the point by your own power, and we will talk about some of the best tactics when you're going to play against long pimples. But we start out with the basic, how the pimples actually works. In almost all cases, long pimples works like this. Whatever spin you give them, they give you back with the opposite spin. So for example, if you make backspin, you will get the top spin ball. If you make top spin, you will get the backspin ball. And for example, the more spin you make, the more you're going to get back. So if you put a lot of top spin, you're going to get heavy backspin. And it works the same for side spin. If you put side spin, it will come some side spin back in the ball. The only exception is, of course, if you put no spin, because then it's nothing in the ball can create spin off. So if you put no spin to your opponent's long pimples, you're going to get no spin back. There are a few exceptions from this nowadays where it is possible for a long pimple player to create backspin back on backspin. And if this is going to happen, you will see them do a real chop movement, and you will pretty fast realize if they can get backspin on this ball. But it all depends on the pimples. Most of them is not possible to make it, but some of the best choppers in the world today have actually rubbers that makes it possible for them to make backspin on backspin. So let's talk about how to get control against the long pimples, because the best way to win matches is, of course, to never miss. We start out with the easiest way possible. And it's to push one and to just play a normal topspin one. Not like with any special topspin, just like when you warm up or as you learn how to play as a kid. So one normal push and one normal backhand shot, or the same with forehand. And when you do this, it's very important to not make any hesitating movements or anything. Just when you push, you start with your arm bend and you make a controlled movement against your opponent. But no special power or anything, because the more backspin you will put, the more the ball will kick with topspin back. And the same when you make your controlled normal topspin shot, just play it in. So this is the easiest way, just one each of these two shots. And it works the same for backhand and forehand. A little more advanced way to play against long pimples is to topspin all the time. Or of course you don't need to topspin all the time, but several times in a row. And here it's important to remember what I told you before. The more topspin you are going to put, the more backspin will come back. So when you do this, it's a risk that for every topspin you make, it will be a little bit more spin each time. So to get control here, it's very important to have an open racket angle. The second you close it, it's a risk that the spin will grip your rubber and the ball will go straight down. So open up your racket angle, make sure to make a lot of work with your legs all the time, because when you play on backspin, you cannot play on straight legs, it doesn't work. But every time the ball comes, you go down and you go a little bit up, of course. Another advice I love to using, and I think is very good, is to not making the fast acceleration until you're very close to the ball. When you make the acceleration close to the ball, it gives you the control over the spin in it. You take over it. You have all the initiative. You will not time the ball wrong. You will not hit your edge. You will not feel the spin so much. So you make your movement slowly. And when you're very close to the ball, you make a fast acceleration. And these techniques, both with the legs, with the open racket angle, and with the acceleration close to the ball, works the exactly same on your forehand side and on your backhand side, as you can see here when I am playing. But something very important to remember, and we talked about it already twice, the more topspin you put, the more backspin will come back. So when you make some topspins and you feel like, okay, now it comes a really difficult ball back, it's most of the times a better decision to just easily push one and then try to start attacking again. Because it's very few players who can handle so many topspins in a row and on really heavy backspin balls against the long pimples. So know your limits, feel like, okay, I have made 3 good top spins, now it comes a really difficult point. Just play it in and start over, because your opponent, as long as they're using the long pimples, cannot finish the ball. So it's no reason for you to take any meaningless risk here. Just make the easiest decision and wait for an easier ball to attack. Let's say you're a player who like to play more aggressive, like to take more risk, like to make the points yourself. Okay, so now we talk about how to finish the points with your own more powerful attacks and not only with control. The first question you should ask yourself, do I prefer to attack on nose spin, back spin, or on top spin when I make my hard attacks? Because, for example, if you think it's very easy to attack on nose spin balls, I recommend you to just serve flat serves, like don't make any spin, and the same with your receives, long, flat receives. I recommend you to do it long most of the times if you don't have an opponent who are very fast to changing or turning around to attack it, because then you have a lot more time on you, which is very important if you want to go hard on the next ball. So if you make a flat ball, you will get a no-spin ball back, and if you like to attack on this one, it's perfect. If you prefer to do it on backspin for some reason, then I would recommend you to do either a top spin served and try to kill the ball directly after, or find ways to play some slow top spins and feel like, okay, I did 1, I did 2, now I have the right chance, it's backspin in the ball, and I decide to attack on it. Or if, for example, if you like to do it on topspin ball, it's never so much topspin actually against long pimples, but a little bit, then always try to make your finishing attacks after you have made a backspin shot to the pimples. So for example, after backspin serve or after you pushed 1. So what's actually important when you're going to make hard table tennis shots? Yeah, first of all, it's very important to have the power forward. So for example, you need to use, if we say that we play forehand, which is the most common when you want to finish the ball, you need to have the rotation from your body. And I even recommend you to make something we call a step in. This means that when you rotate your body, you also move your non-racket foot forward against your opponent. And when you do this, the timing is extremely important. I will say that normally you should start the movement, start moving the foot at the same time as you hit the ball. If you time it wrong, for example, and hit the ball at the same time as you land with your foot, you are not going to have the power or the control of the ball, because your movement is already finished. Your strongest part has already worked. So you will feel the spin from the pimples and you will most likely miss. So make a step in, make the power coming from your body, wait before you're accelerating, and then when you hit the ball, you start the movement forward. If you instead want to finish the balls with backhand, I think that if you want to do this against long pimples, you already know these things, but we take it anyways. It's important to have the elbow forward, because you're not going to get any power from your backhand with the elbow close to your body. So take it a little bit forward, and to get a lot of power, even make sure that your legs, that your hip, help you a little bit to get the power forwards. Because the arm alone can get some power, but with help from the legs, with help from the hip, with help from the upper body, you can get even more power. But same here on backhand, it's important to avoid some common mistakes. Never do this if the ball is a little bit on the side of your body. I mean, of course, no matter which shot you're going to do with backhand, always try to be behind the ball, but even more when you're going to get powerful. Another thing is to be taking the ball too early, because you are going to use power, so you stress a bit. Make sure that the ball is close to you before making the shot. Since you're watching this video, I'm confident that you love table tennis and want to improve more. And if you want more of my help to improve as a table tennis, I have a community you can join down in the description and in the comments. We have arrived to the last part of this video, some tactics against long pimples. And we start out with the #1 advice from my coach, Hans Thalin, who is a little bit of an expert about long pimples. For example, he have been coaching Fabian Åkerström, who later became Swedish men's singles champion. And he have also coached many other Swedish champions using long pimples in different ages on both men's and women's side. And his #1 advice is play as much as possible against your opponent's pimples, because, okay, you feel like it's scary, you feel like it comes difficult, strange balls, but you need to understand that if you avoid the pimples, the times they still use it will be even more difficult for you. Take the power yourself and just play a lot against the pimples, because you will get used to it. You will get used to it through the match instead of avoiding it and don't know what to do when it's finally are used. The other thing, and the most important, the most obvious thing, is that the pimples are actually a limitation of your opponent. You should try to see it as an advantage. Even if it's difficult in the beginning, see it as an advantage. Because the truth is that they are completely limited to make the spin depend on what spin you are making in the ball. The truth is that they cannot put any power in the ball with help of the pimples. So #1 advice, play as much as possible against the pimples, because you will get used to it. You will improve on play against it. And when you have improved against it, you will feel like it's a big advantage for you that your opponent have long pimples. The other advice is when you try to finish the point, do it to your opponent's pocket. Because the pimples works well when they stand correctly to the ball and they can block it, and you will get a very difficult ball back if they take your hard shots. So instead, when you feel like, okay, now I can finish the point, do it against the pocket, because it's not so likely that they will take it. And a reason why it's so much better to make the hard shots to the pockets instead of the slow ones, for example, is that if you play someone who have a good forehand, if you play your easy balls deep to their backhand where they have the long pimples, they will use them. But if you play a little weaker ball to the middle, it's an easy ball for them to turn and attack, while if you make a hard attack, they don't have the chance to be able to move for this ball. The next advice I have already mentioned in this video, but I will mention it fast again. If you play against someone who likes to receive with the long pimples, serve a lot of long serves, because when you serve short serves, they can put a lot more pressure on you, while if you make long serves, you will get a lot of time and easier balls to play next. And now over to the last advice of this video. If you play against someone who use the pimples a lot when you are attacking or even when you're pushing, who do you like to use the pimples a lot? Maybe all over the table, maybe a big part of it. Move the ball all the time. Because, for example, if you play someone who will play long pimples and like to do it all table, they will stand a lot in the middle. So now the middle is not as effective. Make sure to find both corners, because here you have a lot of control. When you're outside of your body, you don't have any control at all almost. So make sure that if you play someone who like to use the pimple a lot, move the ball all the time. Don't play 2 shots on the exactly same spot. You can play to the backhand and you can play to the backhand, and it's completely different for your opponent. Because if you played the balls just here, it will be an easy ball for them to just keep on with what they're doing. But if you move it all the time, even if it's small details, it will get so much harder for them. I hope some of this advice has been helpful for you, and see you next time.